Hi, my name is Chine and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about two very exciting and highly anticipated new releases. As always, if you're a new viewer or you're a returning viewer, hi, welcome, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. Let's start with She Was Here by FORVR Mood. This is the latest fragrance in the FORVR Mood collection and I fear this is their best fragrance. She Was Here is for the niche perfume girlies. She Was Here is for the girlies that are not new to perfume, they are true to perfume. I feel like when Jackie released her initial line of fragrances, she tried to color outside the lines a little bit, but she also kind of played it safe in the sense that this is a new business venture. Her core audience is into makeup and now she's trying to move them into the fragrance space. So of course they're not going to be fans of like super oody, super woody, super like complex fragrances. You have to kind of like ease them into it. And I feel like she was able to do that successfully with her first collection. They don't smell basic, they don't smell generic, but they're also easy to like and love. Now with She Was Here, Jackie colored a little bit more out of the lines and gave us a stunning rose and pistachio fragrance. She Was Here is honestly the perfect name for this fragrance because the sillage that it lives in the air smells divine. This is one of those fragrances that you're not going to get it the first time you smell it, and you are not going to get it on paper. This is a fragrance that you have to try on skin to get the entire experience. When I first went to trying this fragrance in Sephora, I tried it on paper and I wasn't wowed. Bear in mind, I am not a lover of rose fragrances, but I smelled it and I was like, okay, I get it, but I wasn't wowed. So I put some on my skin, I walked around the store and I was doing the rest of my shopping. And as I was doing the rest of my shopping, I kept on getting these whiffs of like a toasted, warm, like nutty smell on a base of like a creamy rose. And I was like, what is that? And of course, I realized it was She Was Her. So this fragrance on paper is not gonna wow you, but once you put it on your skin, it radiates off your skin, it's beautiful. Don't even bother putting your arm like up close to smell it. Give it some distance and get the wafts of the fragrance. And honestly, that is how everybody that interacts with you and smells the fragrance is going to experience the fragrance. Nobody is coming up to you and putting their nose to your skin. They are going to experience the fragrance as it wafts in the air around you. And honestly, that is the fragrance in its best form. So the notes of She Was Here are pomegranate, elemi, vanilla milk, Turkish rose, roasted pistachio, suede, and warm amber. I'll be honest, as a lover of suede fragrances, I don't get a lot of suede in this fragrance. So if you're someone that is skeptical and not a fan of leather or suede notes, you have nothing to fear. The notes that I get the most of in She Was Here are the velvety rose, the salted toasted pistachio, and a little bit of the vanilla milk. This is not a super lactonic fragrance. This fragrance does not smell like milk. It doesn't smell like Blanche Bette and Friends. The milk is just there to add a little bit of a creamy vibe that complements the nuttiness and makes the fragrance a little bit gourmand. But the combination of the rose and the gourmand facets take this fragrance from a basic rose fragrance to something a lot more elevated and sophisticated. When you first apply She Was Here, you are going to get a blast of rose, almost like a sparkling rose that is a little bit sweet from something fruity. Then as it dries down, the rose goes from a sparkling rose to almost like a velvety deep rose. I am not the biggest fan of rose fragrances, especially the traditional rose fragrances. I don't want to smell like a rose bush. I don't want to smell like a powdery kind of rose. I prefer my roses to have a darker element to them. And honestly, if you're someone that is a rose hater or a rose skeptic, you're very particular about your rose fragrances, I think She Was Here is a perfect one to try because it doesn't come off as a very floral, very rosy fragrance. It has the nuances of a rose, but it doesn't come off as like smelling like a flower. I think that out of all the fragrances in the FORVR Mood collection, She Was Here is definitely the most sensual out of all their fragrances. The dry down of this fragrance is my favorite part. That is when you start to get the creamy, nutty, salty, roasted pistachio kind of vibe. For people that aren't familiar with how pistachio comes off in fragrances, it doesn't come off green, even though pistachio has like a green shell. The pistachio in this fragrance smells like it has been lightly salted and roasted. It doesn't smell like peanuts, don't get it twisted. Think like toasted sesame. It's able to give a cozy and like alluring vibe to the fragrance. As I said earlier, this fragrance doesn't have a very heavy milky component. There are definitely some milky facets that go well with like the roasted pistachios, but there is nothing super lactonic about this fragrance. It doesn't smell like milk. The dry down of this fragrance just keeps getting better and better. The combination of the suede, warm amber, and rose takes the rose from a fresh, sweet, syrupy, bright rose to something a little bit darker and almost like a velvety rose. I saw on Fragrantica that people were comparing this to Carolina Herrera's Good Girl and also Jimmy Choo I Want You. You guys are out of your minds. You guys are out of your minds. This fragrance does not smell like any of those fragrances. This is its own thing. So yeah, She Was Here is a hit in my book. Congratulations, Jackie and Dennis and the rest of the FORVR Mood team. This is a stunner and it's making me super excited for whatever else FORVR Mood is cooking up. So yeah, She Was Here is a win in my book. Congratulations, Jackie, Dennis, and the rest of the FORVR Mood team. This fragrance is making me very excited for the new releases that FORVR Mood is going to come out with. I hope that FORVR Mood is able to keep pushing the boundaries on what it means to have a niche fragrance that is marketed to a broader audience. If this is any indication of what they have coming, I am super excited because I haven't bought a perfume at Sephora in a very long time. She Was Here and all FORVR Mood fragrances are available in 2 sizes. You can get the 10 ml travel size for $28 or the full size 50 ml bottle for $79. $80 to walk into a room where people are going to be intrigued by your perfume, but they're also going to pay you compliments and it's going to be liked by a lot of people. You're not getting that anywhere else. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the longevity of this fragrance is about 4 hours on my skin, but 6 hours on my clothes. For the first 2 hours, it projects very moderately and you have a very beautiful scent bubble around you. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, pretty penny, pretty expensive, Havana Gold by Dries Van Noten. Dries Van Noten is a luxury fashion house that ventured into fragrances a couple of years ago, and I have to admit their fragrances are stunners. Dries Van Noten fragrances are pretty unique and you're not going to find perfumes that smell like them anywhere else. My personal favorites are Soy Malaki, Bitter Splash, Raven Rose, Santal Greenery, and Fleur de Mal. But I have to warn you, their fragrances go for like $375, $350 a bottle. So this is how the travel size comes. The Discovery set was also featuring dabbas, but now the Discovery set is all sprays, which I love because let's be honest, everybody hates these things. Oh, and if you don't know what a dabba is, it just means it doesn't have an atomizer, so you can't spray the fragrance. You literally have to dab it onto your skin. That's why we call them dabbas. So this has notes of mandarin, licorice, star anise, cinnamon, tobacco leaves, benzoin, roasted tonka, leather, and cypriol. Cypriol is a very interesting note because to me, cypriol tends to smell almost like oudi, but I'm not really getting a lot of that in this fragrance. Havana Gold is definitely different from what people have come to expect from the Dries Van Noten fragrances. A lot of their popular fragrances are brighter, airier, and maybe fruitier, with the exception of Rock the Myrrh and like Voodoo Chile, but Havana Gold is definitely the darkest fragrance that they have in their collection. This is supposed to be a licorice and tobacco fragrance, and I 100% get the tobacco. I'm not familiar with licorice. I don't really know what licorice smells like, but I know that a lot of people think licorice smells unpleasant. This fragrance doesn't smell unpleasant. I would say that this fragrance smells like a spiced tobacco. Don't think cinnamon like angel share and fragrances like that. The spices here are almost like a chai kind of spicing, and it's also very light and soft. It isn't an overwhelmingly spicy fragrance. If you're someone that isn't a fan of tobacco in fragrances, I don't think you are going to love Havana Gold. The star of this fragrance is the tobacco note. Havana Gold opens up a little bit sweet from the mandarin orange and then it dries down to something warm and spiced. I really like how the spices are done here. It isn't your typical cinnamon. It isn't an overwhelmingly spicy fragrance. The tonka bean in the base of this fragrance stops it from leaning all the way into the tobacco and the suede vibe. It's able to add a sweetness that grounds the fragrance and balances the fragrance. Don't get it twisted. The mandarin, licorice, and tonka bean in Havana Gold do not make it a sweet fragrance. It just balances the fragrance and stops it from leaning completely into like the masculine dark vibes. This fragrance smells like enjoying a cocktail in a dimly lit speakeasy or like jazz club, and there's smoke in the air from people in the corner that are enjoying a cigar. Havana Gold is rich, it is warm, it is tobacco, it is leather, and it's very light spiciness. You definitely have to enjoy leather and tobacco to wear Havana Gold. Havana Gold is completely unisex in my opinion, but for people that are used to wearing maybe florals and gourmands, they might find this fragrance to lean a lot more masculine than it is. Havana Gold smells exactly like the notes. There are no surprises. The only thing I would say is that the spices are not as heavy as I thought they would be. That is a good thing because it gives room for the mandarin orange and tonka to add the sweetness that they do to the fragrance. In terms of performance, Havana Gold will definitely last you 6 hours on your skin. It is not a beast mode fragrance, but it projects really well for like the first 3 hours. Havana Gold is a bold fragrance. It's giving main character. It's giving do not approach me if you do not have materials. Havana Gold is already available for purchase on the Dries Van Noten website, and I believe Bergdorf Goodman as well. Also, if you've been meaning to try the Dries Van Noten fragrances, or you want to own a Dries Van Noten fragrance, but you don't want to spend over $300 on a full-size bottle, I have a sales associate at Bergdorf that sells travel sizes of all the Dries Van Noten fragrances. Manny would ship anywhere in the continental US, even if you are ordering just a single size travel size. The crazy thing is that full-size bottles of Dries Van Noten fragrances are like $375, but their travel sizes are only $40 for a 10 ml travel size. That is a spray. So a lot of people might say, oh my God, $40, that is super expensive for a travel size. Sure, but there are brands in Sephora that are charging $32, $36 for their travel sizes. So paying $40 for a fragrance that costs $375, I think is a great deal. So if there are any Dries Van Noten fragrances that you like but you don't want to spend the money on a full-size bottle, definitely contact Manny, order from him, and he'll ship them to you. That is a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments which of these fragrances sound the most your vibe. She Was Here by FORVR Mood or Havana Gold by Dries Van Noten. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next upload. See you next time.